Hello. All right, I'm waiting for my friend Katie to pop on, and today we are going to talk about parent life, kids. We both have young kids, and how to grow a business while navigating parent life and just life in general. So I'm just waiting for Katie to hop on. There she is. Accept, and hopefully all goes smooth while she's coming on here. There we go. It worked. You can hear me okay?
Yeah,
I just got this. I've been like obsessed with this little microphone. It makes my sound way
I,
better.
I love that. I saw it in one of your videos. I was like, what a cute microphone. I love that.
It's so fun. All
Yay.
right. We're here. I was just kind of saying what we're going to be talking about, growing a business while navigating parent life and life in general, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come up, man. A lot of things. So,
Yes. Okay. Do you want to start and give like a little background on yourself?
sure. Okay, so I am Katie and I have three kids and a crazy story about how that happened. If you want to listen to it, you can go to TikTok and watch that. But my husband and I have three kids, and I have been a hairstylist for 13 years. And in life, I've really been working the last probably like 6 to 7 years up and trying to shift into more of like the online space and still doing hair and everything, but so just wanting to make a higher impact in people's lives. I think one of my favorite parts about doing hair was building relationships with people, inspiring and having those great deep conversations, which we tend to get to have the blessing to be able to do as hairstylists. People love to share. And it's really made me realize like a sector of myself that I've wanted to like dive deeper in and tap into. And I have a really huge passion for helping people in whatever way. And I know Jen, you do too. But I did a shift like earlier this year after taking a few years off of social media, really focusing on raising the babies and being present and kind of reserving myself. I went through a huge metamorphosis. And now I've come out of that feeling very much like a butterfly, ready to spread its wings. And here we are. And learning also just in growing and trying to be a presence on social media and make that impact. It takes technique and strategy. Also, it takes a lot of intention, especially when you come from a family with a lot of things going on. In my case, it's three kids with a very busy schedule. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into it. Your turn, Jen.
Love it. Okay. Well, first I should back up. Katie and I actually met at a salon
Mm-hmm.
way back when, and it's so funny. I feel like we connected on your last day leaving. I think you
Yeah.
were leaving, and then we just started talking, and we're like, why did we not talk this whole time? So
Yep. Yep.
it's kind of cool because we've been able to stay connected, even in like different ventures we've been in, but we've always just stayed connected on social media. And I love that about that. And we have so much in common. So it's been amazing. I'm Jen. I have four kids, so 9, 7, 3, and 1. We homeschool too, like Katie. And basically, I've been doing hair as well. I keep saying 15 years. It might be 16 at this point. I don't know. I have to go calculate again. And as that's a great avenue, I'm also looking for more online. I just love the possibility of the online space and how many more people you can reach and connect to. And I'm the same as Katie. Like, I love connecting to everyone. Like, I just love it. I love helping people however I can. So I just wanted to, and I've been building businesses online for like since 2016. I mean, we did network marketing and like shifts everywhere, but this just feels like a new thing, like a new venture that we're going in on. I've always loved the personal brand and I've always tried to make mine, but I've never went all in.
Mhm.
So here I am. And it's really exciting. And I don't know where it's going, but I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. It's exhilarating. It's definitely like a very new experience because going into it, I've been trying to build in this sector since 2018. And let me tell you, like how I showed up in 2018 versus how I show up today, two very different people.
Yeah.
It could not be more different. And, I think like a lot of people, especially like we're in an accountability group together, and there are some people in there who sent me messages and they're like, I can't believe like how quickly you grew. And I was like, okay, but here's the thing that we like don't always like bring into light is that I'm not an overnight success because I have been plugging away at this since 2018, a really long time. And I definitely had my messy seasons and I had my seasons where I dropped the ball and didn't show up and, rebranded like, okay, this isn't working for me anymore. Like, let me shift gears and change. And so with each progression, I myself have changed as a person and done like a lot of shifts into mindset. Honestly, mindset has been like I think the biggest change. And actually, the salon that Jen and I worked at together, it was like a salon suite space. So we each had like our own separate salons. And that moment when I signed the lease for that salon, that was the pivotal moment where everything in my life changed. I had to like when I signed the lease, I'm good friends with the owner of the salon, and I was telling him there was one room left. That was it. There's
Oh my
one. It
gosh.
had two chairs in it. There was just me, and I was like, I can't afford this rent. I don't have anyone to rent this with me. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this, and I want to take this opportunity, but I don't know how I'm supposed to make this happen. And he gave me the best advice ever, which was sometimes you just have to leap and have no plan B, and you will have no choice but to build the bridge from where you are to where you will go. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. I signed the lease for that salon. I went on Facebook and literally searched for any hairstylist I could find. And I ended up finding a girl that I went to beauty school with and convinced her to work with me. And I went on Yelp and I built a business page and I actually went to I was in a sorority in college and I sent a message to someone in my sorority and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for models. I'm trying to build up my portfolio." I had barely any clients, you guys. Like barely any clients and I didn't know how I was going to pay for these expenses.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not only am I signing a lease for a salon, but I have to like decorate it. I have to like put shelving up. You got to put money and invest into that. And I remember this moment where I like pedal to the metal. I hustled my little booty off. I reached out. I got hundreds of, which this is amazing. This is the power of networking, being able to tap into a network of people that you make in your life. Because being in a sorority, I didn't really know what that was going to do for me later in life. It was just a fun thing to do in college. And then trying to grow my business and sending a message being like, I'm looking for models. If anyone wants a haircut or a blow dry, I will do it for free. Just come in. I just need pictures to post on my social media so I can get things rolling and get clients in my chair because I needed something to put on Yelp too. And I like within 24 hours, I was booked out like 3 months of just, it was free stuff. Like I wasn't making any money on this, but it was just a leap of faith and a little bit of effort and the consistency of showing up every day. It automatically just in putting myself in that posture completely changed the trajectory of my entire.
Isn't that
Yeah.
wild? I forget that it isn't even just the online space. It's where we started our entrepreneurship journey in hair
Yeah.
that has
Yeah.
like led here. Because same 2008, I started doing hair and I worked 6 days. I worked my butt off.
Mm-hmm.
Same as you, I took free people because I knew it was going to pay later on. And even in those beginning days, I don't know about you, but in my mind, I'm like, I should just go get a job. I should just go get a job. Maybe I'll become a nurse. Like you have all these thoughts in your head, but look where we are now. Like if we gave up, I only work in the salon 1 day a week, some days two. And I almost make my full income doing that
Yeah,
We've created this like beautiful life. And if we would have given up in those beginning days, we would have never been here now.
absolutely. And I think it teaches you to think outside the box because, like, I remember enrolling into hair school because I'm creative. I'm naturally
Yes.
creative. I love to create art. And I was like, this will be fun. I saw a friend also who was a hairstylist, and she was like 20 years old. She was very successful, owned her own salon, paid for her own bills, went shopping whenever she wanted. And as a 20-year-old, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I want. I want to be able to do that. I'm going to go to hair school. I'm going to do what she's doing. If she's a hairstylist and she's doing this well, I'm going to be a hairstylist because that means I'm going to do that well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, newsflash, I went to beauty school, and I remember like the kind of the second semester of beauty school is when you really get out on the floor and you start taking clients. Y'all, I was so shy. I was so shy back in the days. I was the person in high school who shrunk in the back of the class. Like, I didn't want anyone to pay attention to me. I didn't want anyone to call on me. I pretended to be invisible. I was so shy back then. And I had this rude awakening. My first ever client who sat in my chair, I had to talk to them. Oh my gosh, talk to people. I realized that in this business of, being an entrepreneur and doing hair and like seeking out a clientele and building relationships with people, you have to actually talk to people during that. And so I had to build out this skill of learning how to talk. So it's crazy, like the things that we like go through in our life that are the like building blocks and the stepping stones
Yes.
into what you're going to become later on. And I think so many times, like I could have very easily, the fear of the unknown and the fear of not being sure if I would make it in signing this salon lease, that could have very well held me back from taking that leap and moving forward. And I think that's why like mindset is so, so, so important when you are in the journey of building yourself up, or building something, like whatever it is, if you're building a clientele or if you're building a network of people or followers on social media, like mindset, it goes so much into that, because if you let the fear of not knowing what's going to happen and you let that fear stop you from actually moving forward towards your dreams, you'd be a different person. You wouldn't be where you are.
It's so true. I was the same. I was so shy. I did a TikTok on this. I was like, the owner of the salon I assisted at, and one of the person, they said, you are so painfully shy, you're never gonna make it.
Oh.
And I was like, little do you know me. No.
Oh, you should
I'm gonna
say.
prove you wrong. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And it did. I mean, I think honestly though, after having kids, like you don't care anymore. I
Mhm.
don't know if that happened for you. It was like such a shift for me. It's like, oh, I'll go up and talk to that person. Oh, I don't care. Like it just shifted after having kids for some reason. Like
Yeah.
your just cares go out the
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, I think for me, the moment that my first daughter Noelle was born, she was born. It was she was a preemie. She had to go in the NICU, and her birth was a very like wild experience. There were like 20 people in my room while I was pushing her out, and at that point, when you've got 20 people with your legs open wide and like, you're delivering a baby into this world, you have a care in the world because all you want to do is have that moment be like done.
Yes.
I the same way, like I stopped caring. There's definitely something about like the entrance into motherhood where it's more than just
Yeah.
you. You're, you're now accountable for someone else or other people, and it doesn't matter. Like it's a lot easier to cast this for us anyway. I know this probably isn't the
Yeah.
same for other us. It was a lot easier to cast away the fears because the greater purpose of the lives that we were caring for shined out more than anything.
I so believe that. And I guess that should transition us into our
Yeah.
actual topic today. I think it's a good segue. Like, this is a huge conversation. A lot I find it to be more than moms. I think dads out there too are trying to grow online
Mhm.
businesses. But I find in this kind of space, it's a lot of moms because the moms do want to stay home, but we're in the state of a world where you need
Yeah.
two incomes. It's almost impossible. So as a mom, you're trying to balance this parenting mom life while trying to find yourself in all of this, right? Because after kids, holy cow, trying to find
Yeah.
yourself, you're a different person and trying to build a business. Like, how do you balance that, Katie?
Yeah, that, that's a very good question. I talked to Jen. um, so honestly, the art it's the art of balance, right? Like that's such a like highly attainable state of mind that you want to try and attain, and I definitely don't. I'll be honest, like this is about like having the real conversations. I feel like most days I do not feel like I'm in balance, but the point is that I still am going to show up 110% for my kids and my family and my husband. I'm still going to show up 100% to my business and everything that I'm creating, the relationships with people in my life. Like I'm still going to do the best that I can while realizing that there are going to like we've got a lot of balls that we're juggling. And like, one of my girlfriends put it in a really awesome way. She said, we have a lot of fires going on in our life, and you have to figure out which fire is the most important that needs to be extinguished first. Because the other little baby fires, like they're not really gonna take everything out. So you can let those burn for a little bit longer while you're extinguishing like the big fires that need to go out and like pay attention to those. And so for our family, like we have this hierarchy of needs that needs to be met. And for us, we have our faith, and then we have our marriage. We really prioritize our marriage because if we aren't on the same team and we're not showing up together as united and we're not taking care of each other, then it's really hard for us to set a good example for our kids of what a healthy relationship should look like, and also how to treat each other even when things are feeling hard. And then after that, it's taking care of our kids' needs because they have very loud needs sometimes. And
Yes.
so they're, they're the most vocal, I think. I don't know. I'm pretty vocal about like if my needs aren't being met, tantrums as well. But my kids, however, like they don't. I've got the skill set, at least, like allegedly, anyway. I have the skill set to work through my feelings. They don't, and our job as parents is to kind of steward them and show them how to respond to situations. And the biggest way we can do that is by modeling it. And so, like, for creating balance in my life, a lot of it has to do with taking this is the thing that Jen and I have been talking about, but like taking care of myself first. That has been something that has been really hard. And I think that so many mothers can relate to that specifically too.
Yes.
It's more of a theme with moms than dads. I was actually talking with some dads about this. Like, how are you able to prioritize yourself and like go to the gym and make sure you're eating right and, take care of your like personal needs? Because as a mom, I feel like it's just a part of our nature. We tend to just like drop it and take care of our kids and make sure that everyone's okay. And then we go back to ourselves. And if you do that enough, you completely burn out and like absolutely fall to pieces, which is where I've had this oscillating pattern over the years where I've not prioritized myself and I give everything else around me 110%. And then I'm just exhausted and
Mm.
very emotional. I get very emotional. And so learning the art of the balance of, I think it really goes into two things, which is number one is taking care of your mindset, and number two, taking care of yourself is so
Yep.
important. And I'm not going to be the guru who's like, I have made it, because I'm definitely not that guru. I was crying on the phone to Jen earlier this week about it, but I do believe that those are like the two most important factors. What's your take on it, Jen?
I think so too. I mean, I'm 100% like your mindset and taking care of yourself. And I say this, and taking care of myself is not easy as well, but I have learned and I'm learning that it's not selfish to do it. And it doesn't have to look like this like crazy morning routine,
Yeah.
right? Because realistically, we both have young kids. Sometimes our kids are up at 5 a.m. Sometimes they sleep till 7. So it's like it's so unpredictable, and that's why you have to be flexible too. Like you have to be so flexible, and you have to be okay if your set plan is not, it gets tweaked.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a big thing, like letting go of control of when I thought I was going to do it. And then when I see the moment and opportunity, I take
Yeah.
it. So even if it's 5 minutes, like 5 to 10 minutes sometimes of just like sitting there, closing your eyes and breathing is might be all you need. Like walking outside to get the mail and taking an extra couple minutes just to like sit there and breathe in the sun. You know, those like little things can be so helpful throughout the day, and that is considered like taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And if you do have a partner, I know some people don't. If you have a partner, like openly communicating with them when you need to have your needs met as well. And they like the guys are so good at this. Like we were talking about, I was like, I don't get it. Like they can just go do it, and like I think like that sometimes. Okay, like he thinks he can just go do it, so can I, you know? And just communicating with your partner about what you need.
Mhm.
I find that to be like huge. And most of the time, your partner's like, yeah, I could have told you that.
Yeah.
Like, go do that. Like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
And so I say, yeah, that's like the biggest thing. Like yeah, the mindset and just the willingness to do it.
Hmm. I think also like we tend to hold ourselves back because of our kids. It's
Yes.
like me taking care of myself. I'm like, well, I could go work out or I could go do this. Like they need to go to the park. Like maybe I should just go to the park. And I always write myself out of I put myself in this bucket of like either or versus both and. Like both
Yes.
I highly recommend, and I'm working on this myself, putting yourself in the posture of always a approaching everything with the both and statement. Like, how can I make this and this happen? And not choosing one or the other. That's something that's been like helpful for me in just making sure that because it's true like my husband will be like well it'll be like bedtime routine and he's like all right I gotta go to the gym and I'm like now how do you do that? Like, how do you just like decide? Like, I'm like, everyone's needs have to be met first. Everyone needs to be like good. And then once everyone's good, like, then I can go sneak off. And like, you're talking about taking moments. Like, for me, that's the bathroom. Anytime I'm good about staying hydrated all day long just for potty breaks so that I can go pee really quick and then take an extra 30 seconds and just like, okay, I could go back out again. But it's make a difference doing things like that. I should do the mail. I forget to check the mail. I need to do that more often. Just the strategy of like taking some time.
The mail is like my favorite one. Oh, I gotta go get the mail. I'll be right back. I gotta take the dog out.
Love
It's
it.
so funny. It's
Walk. Just went. The dog just went on a walk. It needs another one. I can tell.
just be right back.
I love that.
It's so funny. And even yeah, just it's like the old say like if your cup is empty, you can't fill others, but it's so true. Like we know as moms, like when we're depleted, that's when our fuse is so short. We
Yes.
yell at things like we don't even like mean to, but and then that's I think the biggest part too is being aware.
Yeah.
That's like the first thing is being aware. Like I'll catch myself like that like very anxious and like something's gonna like snap and I'm like okay pause, it's not you guys, it's
Right.
me. Like my cup is empty, so I need to like go do something so that way I can give more because right ultimately we love to give, like that's our nature.
Mm-hmm.
So to keep doing that we have to give to ourselves too.
Yeah. Yeah. And as someone who has a really hard time with that I'm working on and trying to get better with because I like naturally don't want to prioritize myself. I'm very like go getter. Like
Yeah.
to like I see a goal and I'm really good about like actionable steps and working to that goal. But when it comes to taking care of myself, I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. And like on the topic of excuses, like that's an excuse. And I do have time for that because I am in charge of creating the time for making that happen. And you can do that with also like without compromising like other things. Like I used to wake up really early to get things done. And then I was cranky because I wasn't getting enough sleep. And so like it's really about picking and choosing the sacrifices that you have to make. Like, for example, if I want to do some yoga or some Pilates or something just to move my body, I need to let go of the idea that it's going to be in this like quiet, private space. And sometimes I need to just pull my mat out in the middle of the living room and let the toddler climb all over me while I'm also trying to do that because at least I'm doing it. And also, I was seeing something too about how when you are showing up in front of your kids, you're showing them how to take care of themselves and how to prioritize their needs as well. And as someone who grew up in a space where I didn't necessarily see that modeled to me, which I think is why I also can show up in that way, I don't want that to continue on to my kids. I want my kids to learn how to prioritize themselves too. So I think also keeping in mind that like it's not always just about us. It's about the impact that we're making on others, and not just in the social media. It's like, how am I going to show up for my followers? Like, how are you going to show up for your family? Because that is also that it starts at home and it just trickles out from there. But also, if you don't have that foundation in your family, how are you supposed to go out into the world and be like, this is what works for us? If it's not something that's like solid and stable at home, it's going to implode.
How huge is that? How huge if you could be the person to break that cycle and show your kids it's okay to take care of yourself
Yeah.
too. Like they won't be having this conversation that you and I are having. Like that's so huge. And your kids, I mean, my 1-year-old does like, I'll say squat and he starts doing squats because he sees us doing it. So it is like you're leading by example, and that's like right there, that should just be like huge enough, you know?
Yeah. You know what's interesting is I have friends that come over and visit every once in a while. And my daughter, I guess that she's paid attention to over the years, like how I show up in the hospitality sense when people come to our house, because now I don't even get a chance to offer anyone anything when they come over. She's already up to them and she's like, would you like a latte? Would you like some water? A snack? Here's a blanket for you. Could you be comfortable? Do you want a pillow? Like she serves people, and it is the sweetest thing I've ever seen. I absolutely love it. And it's just so cool to see, like, they really are monkey see, monkey do. If they see you behaving some way, but the opposite can show up too. Like, if you are going around with a short fuse and you're blowing up at everybody and snapping constantly all day long, which, like, I have definitely been known to do. I'm not perfect.
I mean, I think we all have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll do the same
I,
thing. Like my
I
son
think we
also
all have.
walk around snapping at people, and I'm like, hey, like let's lead with kindness. And then Paul's like, well, I wonder where she got that from. And I'm like, yeah, they're
Don't
great
hold the mirror up to me.
partners.
I think too, if your kids are old enough, having conversations with them about it, because some, you know, as moms, like our kids are following us everywhere. I'll be right back. Nope, I'm following you. Like I have this conversation with my older two a lot. I say, look, I'm with you guys all day long. I take care of you guys all day long. I'm with you. Sometimes I just need 30 minutes to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then they understand that. Like, instead of like, blah, 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 I never get time to myself. Like explaining it to them in that
Mm-hmm.
way so they can get it. And I found that to be like even helpful. Even coming up here right now, my 3-year-old, he's like following me. I'm like, oh no, no. Like, we have this thing. I'm going on a phone call. It's just what he knows. And he goes, all right, after your phone call, will you play? I said, yeah. He's like, okay, I'll go back downstairs.
Oh, I love that.
So I think just talking to them, you know, and then they don't need our attention all day long,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want our intentional attention
Yes.
where it's focused. Like, and I'm guilty of this too. Like, just like, oh, let me just like peek over here on my phone. What's going on? But like, if we can intentionally focus, and even if it's 30 minutes or an hour, that sometimes might be all they need.
Yeah,
Oh, I
absolutely.
lost you. Yeah, that sometimes might be all they need. And then here's my hot tip. So when you're in that moment, sometimes when you're in that intentional moment, you get an idea, right? An idea like sparks, and then you don't want to forget it. I'll just grab my phone. I text myself. You should see my text message thread. It's out of control. I'll just text myself. Da, 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 and send. And so then when I have my working time later, I just pick it back up and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. You know what you can do too? Because my when I have an idea flowing, my fingers can't move fast enough to type. I send myself voice messages and
Yes.
back and listen to it. I feel like stream of consciousness is flowing when I'm talking about something versus like when I read it back to myself later, I'm like, okay, I don't really know where I was going with that.
Yes.
Like talking to myself, like I've realized that I'm a voice message girl. I love voice messages. I feel like so much can be conveyed in like your tone. There's like, you know, all these subliminal ways of communicating that I absolutely love. But Jen, tell me a little bit about like the mindset work that you did to get from who you past were to where you are.
Oof. Okay. Um, okay, I had a pivotal moment in this October 2023. I've always been working on mindset. Like I've definitely been like the not the black sheep of my family, but a different way of thinking than my family and always wanting to grow. I've always wanted to grow. But I've found myself in the same cycle. Like I'm doing it, but I'm not doing it fully. I always describe it as like I'm knocking at the door, but the door has never fully
Yeah.
opened. And in October of 2023, we were in this like financial like lull this past couple years, like so bad. And my negative mindset around money, it was a lot around money. Like, we can't get that. We can't buy that. You know, we all do it. And I said one morning, I just woke up, I was like, what if I just went all in the other way? Like, what if I just went all in and all day long I said, nope, it is so safe for me to have massive success. God always is taking care of me. I don't have to worry about where it's coming from. I know it's going to come to me. I just have to focus on this present moment now. Like it's always taken
Yeah.
care of. Because in reality, it is.
Mhm.
Every time, like it's always taken care of. So that was a huge shift for me. Like anytime I would notice thoughts, and it's not stuff you even have to say out loud, stuff you say in your head. Anytime I would notice thoughts, I would shift them immediately. And that, I can't even tell you, like the past 6 months, the craziest stuff has like happened financially, right? Like we're just like getting money from like random places. And the weight, it's like lifted off of my
Mhm.
shoulders. I feel like I'm walking on clouds, like not having to worry about where or how something's coming in. Like I know it's coming. I just have to focus here because really we can't control. And then if I shut off, like if I say this is how I want it to happen, I'm like shutting off other
Yeah.
possibilities that could be better for me, better than I could even think
Yes.
of. So I would say that's like that's like the biggest like journey, and that's I want to like share more with people because it's just changed my life like so drastically these past
Mhm.
6 months.
The power of your thoughts are like, they hold so much more power than we could ever realize. And I think also that like catching yourself in the moment, which this can be said about trying to just shift in anything, when you recognize, like that's the first step, is like recognizing what you're doing, first of all, and then like recalibrating that in your brain. And the best way you can do that is immediately shift. Let me try that again. Having this negative thought about something, halting that, and I'm going to say it in a different way so that I can train my brain to just start giving me those thoughts instead. My dad always called it growing up. He always said, you know, when you're talking about what you want or how you want things to turn out, always say this or something better. I want
Yes.
something better. Like whatever's in store for me, it can either be this because I'm, you know, I'm making this work, but also something better. And I
Love
think that
that.
that's like really helpful for keeping in mind of like where we want to go in our lives and how we want to get there. I think for,
I love that.
I think,
I really love that because even too, you guys think like if you're thinking this negative stuff, you're putting that out there.
yeah.
And like the universe got like they don't know imagination
Mhm.
from real, so they're like, oh, she wants this, okay, we're gonna make that happen, you
Yeah,
know. So
absolutely.
that made me think too. I'm like, wait, I don't want to put that out there because I definitely don't want that.
Yeah, it's true. Where your focus goes, energy flows. So if
Yes.
you're focusing on the negative, you're going to make that happen. But if you're focusing on the positive, you're also going to make it happen. And so you get to like, this is the coolest part. It's the power of choice. We make like a billion choices a day. That's not the correct number, but we're going to go with that. We make like a billion choices a day, and everything that we do is a choice. Am I doing this or this? Do I want this to eat or that to eat? Do I want to think about this right now or that right now? Am I going to go to this place or that place? Which gas station? Like we're constantly making different choices throughout the day. And sometimes we don't realize that like our thoughts are kind of on autopilot, but we actually get to have a choice about how those turn out too. We get to have a choice. And I'm constantly reminding myself of that. Like if I'm thinking about something, I'm like, you know what? I choose not to do that. And I remind my kids too. I'm like, hey, you get to choose, like
Yes.
you have your feelings now, and then you get to choose what you're going to do with those feelings, which I think is also
Yeah.
really important. I think also with kids, sometimes we choose to use our kids as our excuse or reason why we can't do something. And I definitely am like, I will cancel plans because I'm like, oh, the baby has to take a nap. Like, I can't, sorry. But like, even more than that, like, we choose, like, there are days when I'm like, I'm not going to work out because I have to do all these things with the kids and like, I just don't have time for it. And that's not true, honestly. It's an excuse. And so recognizing like where we make excuses in our lives or for kids for excuses, like if you have a dream and you want to go after it and you're like, but I can't because, I challenge you to reframe that because actually you can, because,
Yeah.
and think of how you can make that happen, because we can very easily talk ourselves out of things, but instead I challenge you to figure out a way to talk yourself into something. How can I make this happen? What roadblocks do I have to remove? What challenges do I need to overcome? Because you have that power of choice as well.
That's huge. It's just, I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's like, it's so true. You have the power of choice because, and this is like another good reminder, right? Like when you want to start a business and you have a family, you have to remember like you do have responsibility elsewhere and you don't have to feel that you have to put it all out there right now. Like I want to change and I need to do it all right now. You have to remember you're right on time. I have to tell myself this all the time because Katie and I are very high achievers and I want it done now. So I have to say I am right on time. You are right on time. Your path is aligning perfectly. And if today you can only work 5 to 10 minutes on your business, that's great. Tomorrow it might be hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about like not being motivated to work on your business. It's about being
Yeah.
disciplined because motivation only lasts so long. And if you truly on your heart, you know this is something you want to bring to the world, you got to do it. No matter how hard and how many obstacles you have to show up and do it. And surrounding yourself by a group of people is where it's at. I'm sorry, but that like you can do it on your own, but to have someone to like, I'm feeling this way today, and they're gonna give you, you want someone's gonna give you a kick in the ass too.
Yeah.
Like you don't want someone's gonna like pity party you. Okay, they can pity party you a little, but you want them to be like, okay, I feel you're feeling that, but let's get going.
Yeah.
Like it's important.
Paul always says, and I'll be like, wait, I'm feeling this way. And he's like, and I'm like, and this is what I can do about it. There, that's the whole point. It's like we can have our feelings about something. Those are absolutely valid. Things can feel hard. Things can feel challenging. You can be so frustrated at how something is going or not going. But like, now what's next? Don't just sit in that forever. Don't buy real estate in that, because that's going to get you absolutely nowhere. What are you going to do next? How are you going to move past that? How are you going to fuel that? How are you going to turn your mess into your message? Like
Yeah.
that's where it's at. Is like trying to figure out like like everyone has an individual and very unique story. Jen and I have our own. They're quite riveting, but all have a story to tell. We all have a circumstance that we have been in. But just because you've been in a circumstance or are in a circumstance does not keep you from what is to come. It does not keep you from your future. You can't let your circumstance or your past define your future. That is great. That's a launching pad towards what you're going to do with it. Then I always like to say, dot, 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 and like,
I
yeah,
love that.
that was your story. Now what?
It's an old, yeah, and a great question you can ask yourself is that an old belief? Have you like checked in on it recently?
Mm-hmm.
Is it still the same or that's just what you keep telling yourself?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I had a business meeting one time with a guy, like he was my website developer for my salon like years ago. And I said something, I don't remember what it was. And he was like, when was the last time you checked the expiration date on that belief? I was like, well, never actually, because I think we have these beliefs and these like identities that we carry with us that are maybe rooted in incorrect areas. And we just like, I believe this because it's always what I've believed, or like I grew up believing this. But like, do you still like, have you checked in with yourself to ask yourself, like, do you still want to carry this with you? Do you still resonate with it, or are you just believing it because it's habit?
And sometimes, too, that was someone's belief they put on you that wasn't even
Yes.
yours.
Yes. And that's another thing. Like we talk about how speaking to each other and like our thoughts are powerful. And I don't think we talk enough about what other people are speaking over us. I've had family members who, wrote themselves out of success because everyone in their life told them that they couldn't do it, that they weren't good enough, that they, whatever. And when they figured out that what other people said about them is not actually what they believe about themselves, let me tell you, that family member unlocked their potential and they reached incredible heights of success just from releasing the chains of the words that people were telling them that were holding themselves back from their potential, which was there. But sometimes people around us, like, we have toxic relationships, we have people telling us
Yeah,
like we can't do anything, and it's not because necessarily they believe that we can't do anything. They probably believe that about themselves as well. They don't believe that anyone can do it because it doesn't seem like a reality to them. Mindset is everything, y'all. Everything.
everything. Literally, I would say work on that before you do anything else, because that will make or break your business, really your life. It'll make or break your business and your life.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things to keep in mind too is like when you are doing the deed, like when you are doing stuff in your life and you're working towards something or you're chugging along, it's not always going to be like this streamline to success. Like you're going to have the ups and the downs and the valleys. And I love to call those valleys the valley of despair. When you fall deep into that pit of the valley of despair, that is where you want to give up. You're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, this is pointless. No one even cares. Like, no one's paying attention. And you start saying all these negative thoughts because you're in despair. But don't live there. Don't set up, like I said, don't set up real estate. Like push through. Do not give up. The only time we ever fail in our lives is if we give up. If you're not giving up and if you keep, you will reach like different heights. It takes time and it takes effort, but like don't write yourself out of it. And then when you're working on your mindset, I think the most important, because I remember like in my younger years, I was like, oh, okay, mindset. Okay. Like
I
everyone
know,
talks
right?
buzzword, whatever, I know what that means. And I remember like, I think the key component for me and like helping me shift my mindset without trying to read all these like books, which there's a lot of materials out there that are super helpful. Like my floor feed on my Instagram is all mindset stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
all psychology. Universe thinks that I need to hear that. But I think that you ask yourself, like when you're in any situation in life, whether you're growing a business or you're trying to parent your kids or you're having trouble in your relationship and you're just trying to figure out how to make things work and see eye to eye, or anything else in life, you're having challenges, there's health issues, like whatever it is, I think the most important thing to ask yourself is, what can I do from here? Where can I go from here? Like, what's next for me? Because as long as you're keeping your eyes in forward motion, like if you're driving a car and you're looking in your rear view mirror the whole time, you are going to crash into something because you can't
Yep.
see anything forward. So if you're sitting in your circumstance and you've got your eyes back there with all the stuff you have going on, you're missing what's about to happen for you in the future. So keeping that posture and like reminding yourself, no matter what you're going through, what is next? Like that's the key question I'm always asking myself. Like, okay, now what? What now? Sometimes the answer is, okay, sit in it. You have to just sit in it. Like this is where you're supposed to be right now. Process it, sit in it, whatever. And sometimes it's like, okay, pick yourself up. You've got to keep going. You've got to move on.
I think too, a big thing I do is ultimately we're all starting something online because of money. Like we want what money can give us, the time freedom, the finance, whatever it is. And our big thing is right now we want to buy a
Mm-hmm.
house. So we go and look at houses all the time. And anytime I'm feeling like stuck or in that lull, I'm like, okay, let's go look at houses.
Mm-hmm.
Because anytime I get into a new house, I'm sparked again. I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. So always kind of reminding yourself, what is the big purpose? Like, why are we doing this in the end? And you have to keep that with you at all times because that's going to give you fuel to keep going.
Yes. Yes. There's an amazing book that I'm like totally blanking on the name of right now. Oh, Your Life as Art. Your Life as Art. It's very dense. It's a really good but super dense read. But he talks about the concept of creative tension. So if you always have your eyes on a goal and you are where you are and you're seeing a pain point, whatever that is, if you keep your eyes focused on your goal, there's always going to be that super tight tension
Mm-hmm.
grabbing, pulling you towards your goal because you want to be out of where you are.
Yes.
Like change, Dad used to always say this to me, change happens when the pain of change becomes less than the pain of staying the same.
Yes. I believe it. Yeah. It's so true. Your dad is very wisdomful.
He
Like
is.
so much wisdom.
He drops little one-liners on me all the time. I'm like, okay, something to think about.
I love it. Okay, well, I think this was great. This was fun.
It
Do you
was.
have anything else you want to add? Or we can do it again. If anyone has any like topics or anything they want to like talk about, let us
Mm-hmm.
know.
Drop it in the comments. We would love to talk about this stuff. So if there's anything you're struggling with or like want specifically to work on or some insight on, let us know and we'll be happy to share it.
Yes. Well, thank you, Katie. This was great. And
Thank
I'll see
you.
you at 5 o'clock on
Yes,
our other call.
can't wait.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.